Welcome to the stream chat. I'm sorry I'm terribly late, but to be fair, the daylight savings doesn't really work well with me. It's one of the only things that the European Union could have fixed, and I would have unironically praised them. Because if you look at what the European Union does, like every legislation is just another tax, just more bureaucracy, just like another way to make my living standard a little bit lower. But like this would have been amazing, just fix daylight savings. It wasn't hard, and they cucked. They cucked. Something to do with like, oh, but it would affect the airplane industry. It would affect this and that. It's like, but you have like the smartest people on the continent, and you think that this continent is the best continent, and so with all your experts, with all your power, you couldn't have found a way to make it work. Like here's an idea: abolish it after 10 years, right? Like if it actually destabilizes so many things, I understand. But like if you plan it for 10 years, like 10 years from now, we will not have daylight savings anymore. Then people can prepare. They can know, okay, well, this is the year where the daylight savings change, and then that's it. But it's too difficult. Thank you, Nightmare, for the $2. Wishing me a happy birthday, and thank you everyone else in the chat. Oh, Lumi's chat is here as well. Well, thank you guys. I appreciate it. The happy birthday thing. It's getting really weird because like when you're a kid, you absolutely love when it's your birthday and it's great and it's amazing. But like after having 39 of them, you get a little bit anxious. It's like, oh god, I'm getting closer to death. I used to listen to other people that were saying this. Like I used to listen to other middle-aged people saying this, and I thought they're joking. But no, chat. Like you too one day will reach this position, and you too one day will come to the realization. Here in Mexico, we got rid of a few years ago. Nothing bad happened regarding the daylight savings. Yeah, I mean, I suppose like Mexico isn't a huge trade hub like the European Union, so maybe it's not as interconnected to world trade. I don't know. But this is like what the European Union cope is. It's like it's too interconnected. Like it would destabilize too many industries. And so, okay, well, you don't have to do it this year. You don't have to do it next year. But like at some point, just fucking do it. It's a ridiculous thing. I think the communists came up with it, honestly. Like, everything bad in the fucking world is invented by communists. At least this is the vibe that I get. Yeah, I think the communists came up with this concept in order to, like, save electricity or some shit. In order to stop burning the midnight oil. Anyway, I'm not old, I'm getting older. There's always someone older than me. You're 62, congratulations. There's probably a person that's 84 who thinks you're young. Happy birthday, V, from your favorite advocate of violence. Ooh, Zlixian. Yeah, you're always scaring me with your super chats because I wonder, it's like, what would the YouTube moderator say if he reads them? And they're spicy. Spicy. Alright, let's go into some interesting news. Jean-Claude Van Damme. Jean-Claude Van Damme is posted in a website that I can't open from Romania because again, the European Union. See, this is what the European Union does to me. Look, and people wonder, it's like, why I dislike them so much. This content is not available in your region. And it's from the New York Daily News. Now, why is this content not available in my region? Well, because it's not GDPR compliant. So this American website that works fine for all the fucking Americans on Earth, and everyone, like someone from fucking Afghanistan can click on this website. It doesn't work for me because the European Union protects my privacy. Oh, goodness gracious. Yes, they protect my privacy. Oh, yeah, the GDPR. Oh, man. And so, in order to be GDPR compliant, you have to pay money, right? Because it's difficult. Like, you have to build your website in a certain way. And so the newspaper just go like, well, you know what? Go fuck yourself. We're just going to ban Europe. And that's it. And so it's very difficult for me to read the fucking news and to tell you that Jean-Claude Van Damme is accused of sex trafficking while in Romania. What is it with, like, bold Americans coming into my country and being accused of sex trafficking, huh? Like, when America is sending its people, I'm just saying. Happy birthday, Mr. Troll. Why, thank you, insane linguist. So yeah, apparently Jean-Claude Van Damme is accused of nasty stuff. Now, here's the interesting thing: we were so nice to him. We were so nice to him when he came up and he was on television, and everyone's like, "Oh my goodness, look, it's Jean-Claude Van Damme. He came to Romania." And I was like, "Well, why did he came to Romania? You know, that's a good fucking question. Usually, people don't come here. Like, what is it like so fascinating to see here?" And apparently, now we may know. All jokes aside, you know, like he's just accused, right? So innocent until proven guilty. But still, it is what it is. Maybe they have a hair check at the border. You think this is what we should do? We should, you know, because like at the end of the day, a nation can reject people coming in for whatever reason, including we don't like your face. And we should look at the hair. Like, if you're not a Romanian citizen and you have a descending hairline, maybe you shouldn't be allowed in. Happy birthday. Get yourself a retro game for $2. I don't think there are retro games for $2. I think it's $5. But, like, I'll look. Maybe I'll get Prince of Persia. How about that? And thank you, Aimsang. Thank you, Gabriel Narta. Appreciate it. He's Flemish? No, he's not Flemish. There's no fucking way he's Flemish. He's American. Yeah, he's Guile, isn't he? He does the sonic booms and shit. Guile is American. He's got like an American flag tattooed on his biceps. You're trying to gaslight me into believing that Jean-Claude Van Damme... Let me see, why is he... Okay, so Jean-Claude Van Damme... Romania, sexy accusations. Sex trafficking. Another one that I can't fucking read. What the fuck? Okay, I managed to find one. Holy shit, this one is filled with ads. What? Romanian authorities have charged Jean-Claude Van Damme with crimes relating to human trafficking. A complaint filed with the Romanian masked ones. We call them masked ones because they're like the SWAT team member. They have masks on them, you know? They're like ninjas. Said the 64-year-old knowingly engaged with sex with trafficked women by a group led by Borel Bolea, according to Antena 3. Who the fuck is Borel Bolea? The complaint alleged that the incident happened in Keynes. Van Damme knowingly accepted 5 women as a gift from the traffickers. Attorney Adrian Cuculis, who represents one victim, said that the women were vulnerable and they were likely exploited under Article 182 of the Criminal Code. Witness reportedly told prosecutors about the incident, an event Van Damme organized in Keynes. The Romanian version of the FBI launched a criminal investigation. Several Romanians who are currently being investigated for forming a criminal group, Pimping, allegedly offered Jean-Claude Van Damme not 1, not 2, but 5 Romanian women, photo models in Romania, for him to have sexual relationships with. The person who received these benefits knew their condition. Right, so, from my understanding of Romanian law, prostitution here is illegal, but it's not punished with imprisonment. It's punished with a fine. I'll have to look it up just to make sure that I'm not spreading misinformation. But like, if you go out and, you know, you find a lady of the night, you find a woman with low moral fiber, and you pay her body in exchange for cushy, then it's punishable with a fine if you're caught. And I think, like, she is the one getting punished. So, like, you who engage, you who are soliciting, like, that's fine. Again, I'll have to brush up on my legislation because it's been, like, more than 10 years since I finished law school. So, a lot of these things I forgot. Especially because, like, when I was doing law school, I wasn't paying that much attention to this shit. I thank you, Book, for the happy birthday. And Sandor, and everyone else. And so, anyway, right, the problem becomes that you do go to prison if you know the person is being sex trafficked or if the person is a minor, right? So if it's an adult woman that's consensual, it's a fine. But if it's someone that you know they're being constrained or someone that's underage, then you go to prison. And this is what Mr. Van Damme is accused of. Mr. Van Damme is accused of knowing that those 5 women, which were supermodels apparently, were being constrained. Didn't Hassan get into a similar pickle? Right, like Hassan Piker, the streamer, he actually dodged the bullet there. He went to Germany. And a lot of Americans are horrified about OnlyFans, and it's like, it's so much pornography on the internet and shit. But in Germany, they have brothels. Like, unironically, you go to a house of tolerance, we used to call it, right? You go to a house of tolerance, and then you have, like, a swimming pool, a spa, you know, something like that. And the ladies are very aggressive. It's kind of like an isekai. Like, you go in there and the women harass you. Why do they harass you? Because you get to pick one. And then that's how she makes money, right? And so Hassan apparently went to Germany. Went to one of these houses of tolerance. And he was very satisfied with the results, right? Like, he was very, very pleased. But then it turns out that the house that he frequented got cracked down by the German equivalent of the FBI. And they found out that some of those ladies there may not have desire to be there, right? And so, yeah. Well, Mikata Hinzu, yeah, I would say ladies. Yeah, like if your daughter is being kidnapped and constrained into that shit, I don't think your daughter is to blame, right? And I'm just saying that maybe in some situations, yeah, they're actual victims. American Outlier, thank you for the super chat. Happy birthday, V. Also, Van Damme is Belgian. He just have American citizenship like Schwarzenegger. Well, my brother in Christ, if they have American citizenship, they're a fucking American. Like, look, let me put it this way, right? Like, there was a case where an American soldier in Romania got in a case of DUI. Like he drank and he drove. And he killed someone, right? Now, the Americans, like, really wanted him back. Like, he didn't want to go through our legal system, didn't want to go in prison for some fucking reason. I don't know why. But he appealed to the embassy, and the embassy got him out, right? Like, why? Because he has American citizenship. Like, American citizenship is an international power, right? Like, you're able to cast that spell and get out of trouble. And so, yeah, like, Van Damme is an American. He's got American citizenship. The fact that he is Belgian. Not to mention, like, didn't he grow up more in America than in Belgium? Like, doesn't he stay in America a lot more than he stays in Belgium? You're not going to gaslight me. You're not gaslighting me. He's a fucking American. If I see him on the street, I go like, okay, he speaks English. Why? Because he's American. That's my European mindset. All Americans speak English. And they all look like Van Damme. Of course I can do that. I just did. Hassan found the one guy in the brothel? No, I think like Hassan is a ladies' man. I definitely think that he's into women. Now, if we were talking about Destiny or Vosh or other right-wing commentators, then we would have a different opinion on it. Imagine saying no to 5 Romanian supermodels. Well, see, like this is one of the other things that I don't understand. The new culture, it's like, if you're, like I see this on Twitter every single fucking day. Every single day. I don't even want to be part of this conversation, but you see it. And so you got to talk about it, right? So they will, like there's an artist. And let's say an artist draws My Hero Academia superhero on a beach, right? And she's hypersexualized. Like this character from My Hero Academia, like she's got big tits, a plump ass, right? And then everyone freaks out. It's like, oh my god, she's 16. She's 16. You're sexualizing children. Oh, ban, right? And I'm thinking like, well, I don't think like people are attracted in the anime character because of the age. They're attracted because of the tits and the fat ass. But it is possible, and I know this is difficult to accept, but it is possible to feel attraction of something and not be an animal and actually want to engage. You know? Like, it's possible that you see a woman on the street and you're checking her ass even though you're married. But even if she was to ask you, you would still say no because you're married. Like, you have moral values, it's called, right? So, like, you do have the urge. Like, the urge is there, right? You're married and you see this woman with a nice plump ass on the street. And she even starts flirting with you. She even invites you to her place, hypothetically speaking, right? But because you're married, even though you would want to, even though you're willing, even though you're saying no. Why? Because you got moral principles. Like, did that stop being a thing in the culture? Like, did we abandon this way of thinking all of a sudden? Is it something that we no longer hold? That like a person cannot be attracted to something and just say no because they have principles and morals? Anyway, it is what it is. Yeah, like the thing that I guess like the reason that this triggers me is because it validates the feminist idea that hashtag yes all men, right? Like all men are rapists. It's like just because you're attracted to a woman, then like you have absolutely no constraint. Like, oh my goodness, she got big tits and a fat ass and you like looking at it. Well, that must mean that if you are in the position, you'd also have sex with her. It's like, no, if you're married, you wouldn't. Right? If she's underage, like let's say she's 17. Right? Let's say she's 17 and she looks like a supermodel. You still wouldn't. And like, there are certain things where your morals should triumph your basic instincts. I don't get it. It is what it is. Maybe I grew up in a different timeline. Maybe like the morality of the time that I grew up in was a lot different. Rizzler D, thank you for the 20 California dollars and happy birthday to me. Thank you. I appreciate it. And also happy birthday to everyone else in the chat that wished it to me. I can't really call out your names because there's too many of you. Right-wing commentators. Well, don't we have Fuentes that like, here's the thing with Fuentes that I don't understand. He's a rebellious individual, isn't he? Like he's a gentleman that has a rebellious streak. Looks a little bit like Freddie Mercury, right? I mean, without the mustache, I mean. But he's also very famous. Like he's got a lot of fans. He's got tens of thousands of fans, if not hundreds of thousands, right? He's the leader of a movement. Like, usually when you're a man like that, you attract feminine attention. Like, it's next to impossible not to. I mean, look at DSP, right? Like, DSP, with all of the flaws that he has, the type of personality which he has that no one should emulate, even he had, like, several girlfriends and wives and stuff, right? Because when you're famous, women come to you. Like this is another misconception, is that men make the first step, right? Like in attraction, men are the ones that are supposed to make the first step. If you're famous, women do the first step. Like, for instance, with Andrew Tate. Like, do you think, no, unironically, do you think Andrew Tate needs to approach women? Like, no, a lot of them approach him. Kind of like a serial killer in prison. I don't know why it's happening, by the way. I'm not saying it should. But I'm saying that this is the reality, right? Like, when you're famous, it doesn't matter if you're famous for good things, for bad things, for whatever. Like, when you're famous, women just approach you. And so, you're telling me that, well, like, Nick Fuentes has such superior standards that all the women that approached him, like, none of them is good enough? Like really, not a single one. Like you couldn't find a single woman that's good enough for you to start dating? Almost Shiroi. I mean, maybe. I don't know. Like, maybe his standards are godlike. I'm curious, like, would his mom fit the standards? Like, obviously not his mother, but like a woman that is like his mother when his dad got her, right? Like, good housewife, I assume, you know, nurturing, loving, caring, wanting to have kids, traditional mindset, like all of that, right? He couldn't, like would a woman like that fit the bill? And if yes, like, he really can't find anyone? Because, like, again, he's international, right? Like, he's not just streaming in America, he's streaming around the world. He even streamed in China's TikTok app, Red Note, right? Like, not a woman on planet Earth exists for him. Has God created the one man that is destined to become a monk? I don't know. It's just interesting. But hopefully any year now, you know, hopefully any year, he's going to introduce us to a loving lady, a beautiful mademoiselle. Brandon K, happy birthday, you son of a lovely lady. Why, thank you. I appreciate that, Brandon. It's not getting complicated. It's getting pretty simple. As Tim Beanie Pool said, sneaky foxers. Oh, sneaky fuckers. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm always refreshing page and chat. Can ever trust site to hold. I don't know what's happening with YouTube. I noticed that what's happening actually it's pretty much similar to what's happening with other social medias. Lack of innovation and creativity. Did you notice that? I actually look at what's happening with Twitter ever since Elon Musk took over. A lot of things are bad, right? Like the Indian rage post farming. Like a lot of people from India are rage post farming in order to make money on Twitter. I don't like that, but it is what it is, you know. And there's spam and there's bots, sure. But like it's trying to innovate. It's creating an AI. The AI is not just text based as it started. It now analyzes and edits pictures. You can see that they're trying to improve the AI. There's a lot of features, like even the monetization itself is a feature. They're trying to integrate with live streams. They're trying to do all sorts of stuff. And it's like, okay, so this is what's happening with the social media company that actually is trying to innovate, right? And meanwhile, you look at YouTube, and what did we get? Well, we got YouTube Shorts, which is very similar to TikTok, right? In order to compete with them. Like, okay, got YouTube Shorts. We got Super Chats, and we got Super Thanks. And that's pretty much it in terms of innovation. Like, really? That's it? Yes, that's it. Like, nothing new. Just and then the website starts working less and less effectively to the point where people are saying in the chat they have to constantly refresh, and it's like, okay. American Outlier, V, no one is denying him. It's just the point of origin. And fun fact that Schwarzenegger has been in the US since the 70s. Regardless his accent, he's just like Van Damme. Have assimilated in our culture, but they're Americans just like me. Oh yeah, okay, no, sorry, my bad. I spend a lot of time on the internet, and I'm used to arguing with people who are saying, like, no, you know, just because he had the citizenship, and just because he lived there, and just because he's a culture in the country, like he's an icon, no, he's not ours. It's like, yeah, okay, but that's not how the international community sees it. And I'm glad you agree. Yeah, it's rare to find people that agree nowadays. I'd argue that Sitter is not innovating. It's copying the Chinese. Yeah, but like, see, here's the point. When you're actually working in web development, just because you see someone else having a feature and you want to copy it doesn't mean that you also know the code. Doesn't mean that you don't need to innovate in the sense that even if you have the code for the feature, it may not fit into your website. So you still need people to think about how to implement it and how to make it work, right? And so, like, just because a website has a feature like live streaming, like, let's say YouTube has live streaming, and you have Twitter and you want to add live streaming into Twitter, doesn't mean it's as simple as just, like, copy-paste. Like, you need a team of specialists to figure out, like, how to integrate the live streaming service into the Twitter model and fit it with the code without giving bugs and so on and so forth. Thank you, Italian-Irish guy. And thank you everyone else that's wishing me happy birthday. I appreciate it. I had a very lonely birthday today in the sense that I slept through it. And then I woke up with like so many people phoning me, and I couldn't answer because I was asleep. And then I like, well, I can't start streaming because if I start streaming, like all the people that phoned me are going to start phoning me again. And luckily that hasn't happened. Get some semicolon wrong, say goodbye to your entire site. That actually did happen with Twitter, right? Like they fed the line of bad code, and the moment they fed the line of bad code, everything went to shit. Right. Let me see if we got some more interesting news. Apparently, the Romanian government is hunting down people on the internet that are critical of the culture. A lot of censorship. I want the elections to end already so that the censorship just reverts back to a more acceptable level. I'm not used to this. Like, my country didn't have censorship. Not in the last couple of years, I mean. Anyway, let's look at Alec Baldwin. Oh my goodness! Like when I want morality, when I want to understand how the world works, and when I need to know what is good and what is bad, I go to Alec Baldwin. Like he is the church, he is the prophet, he's the moral compass of our time. So let's listen what he has to say.
Led my hand to pick up the remote and turn on my television. Sorry. And watch Ken Burns' famous.
If you can't hear what he is saying, I understand. Like some people are having difficulties in hearing. Read the text, right? Just fucking read the text.
Miniseries. And boy, you can see now that we are in a pre-Civil War culture.
Oh my goodness, he's Tim polarizing. He's Tim polarizing. He would actually use a bitty bitty. Like look at his hair. He could benefit from a bitty bitty. What the fuck is wrong with his eyes, man? Like, does he not sleep at night? Like, ever since that day, ever since the incident, which could have been avoided if instead of like hating guns, he would embrace gun safety, right? Like all he had to do was to go shooting with American Outlier. That's it. Like I guarantee to you, if he went one day, just one day with American Outlier, and they would have shot some guns, he would know. Okay, gun safety. Do not point your gun at other people. Do not put your finger on the trigger unless you're willing to fire. Always assume that the gun is loaded even when you know that it's not. You know, like if he was to do this, he wouldn't have been in the predicament that he is in right now. So like maybe the thing haunts him to this day. And this is why like he's got these eyes that are tired, like he's got the 50-yard stare. Apparently this actually bothers him, by the way. Like there were people harassing him on the street with this. And he's getting really upset. And you know, like I can understand why you'd get upset, but like you place yourself into that situation. You can't go around moralizing people and telling people how to live their life and be a good, decent person. And then go through something like that and still moralize, you know? I'm just saying. It's like, it's understandable that he didn't wanna, right? Like, I get it. It was an accident. But stop it with the moralizing. Just stop. Like, no more. Right? Like, we don't need moral advice from a person that's this careless.
Now, when they describe things back then politically, there were profound differences, of course, in terms of just history and age, and you know what life was like back then, and cotton and slavery and.
Okay, when you start with that, like all of a sudden, you show me that you know history from pop culture rather from the history texts. Like you're basically saying, okay, so I saw some Hollywood movies about the Civil War because I'm an actor, and cotton and slavery. No, like if you actually read the historical texts, slavery and cotton had little to do with the argument at the beginning of the war. Like in the beginning, that's not why they fought. It's not like all of a sudden the North went like, we need to free the slaves, and the South was like, no, you don't free the slaves, and the North managed a massive army and invaded. No, it was because of state rights. That's the essence of why they fought. It's like, should the Fed have more rights than the states? Because it's called the United States, right? So like, states uniting. And it's like, okay, we united, but can we still maintain our sovereignty, or is the federal government stronger than us now? And certain states in the South disagreed. They said that the Fed is not looking in their interests, and they wanted to part ways. Again, this is my understanding of American history from a Romanian perspective. I got no horse in the race, right? At the end of the day, I don't fucking care. My country never had slaves, never will. And so I'm looking at this literally as an outside observer. Like why would I have any pull into whether the South or the North? Like from my perspective of Romania, slavery would have gone away anyway, right? Like in Britain, for instance, they didn't have a civil war and they abolished slavery. And so I think it would have happened anyway, regardless. And from the perspective of Romania, if the South would have won or the North would have won, things would have been the same. Probably, like, it's even possible that if the South won, and now you have, like, America split among, like, two nations, you have, like, the southern states and the northern states. When World War One and World War Two came along, it's quite possible that the states would unify again. So again, if you understand history from the term of geopolitics, and you're looking at it like the actual historical data, you notice that, well, the Hollywood movies, they're nice, they're dramatic, right? It shows that they're fighting for a good cause, but it's not really what happened. Happy birthday, nothing exciting to add. Love your content, have a great day. Well, thank you, Rusta. The next time you do have something exciting to add, you don't need to send any money. Just write it down and I'll read it. Happy birthday from Walking Corpse. Thank you. I'm going to give you a like. You go. You got a like. I can actually like super chats now. Wait, I can't? Actually, it doesn't let me like your super chats. Oh, never mind. You gotta press the little heart on the upper right corner. But for the sake of the individuals being able to control their own lives is why the Civil War happened. It's more to do with central banking, I understand, and it's also to do with state rights. Like, you can say that, all right, well, it did have to do with slavery in the sense of the industry, right? Because in the North, they were manufacturing and they were more, I guess, like, future oriented. Like, they saw the future, so, like, it was more factories and stuff. While in the South, they were still using plantations and slaves. And they were, like, more backwards in that sense when it comes to the economy and the development. And so, yeah, I'm pretty sure, like, the North would probably want to free the slaves, not necessarily out of kindness and compassion, but because they need factory workers. And so they need cheap labor, right? And by freeing the slaves, well, where are they going to go? Well, they're going to go north to work in the factories. At least that's how I think they thought about it. So, like, let's not pretend that it's out of compassion and ethical consideration and morals and, right? Like, usually world politics, from the beginning of history, and it's probably going to stay like that until the end of history, has been done out of pragmatic and cynical considerations. It's not about, empathy, kindness, and compassion. It's more about resources. It's usually about food, energy, and water. Like, pretty much that's the reason most wars were fought, right? Like, the basic needs. Libya is still doing slavery again, and no one cares. Well, of course, like Thomas Sowell says that the reason no one cares about slavery in Africa and the Middle East is because it's not profitable. Like, there's no political capital in order to mess with it. Now, I'm sure if Libya would take, like, Americans or Europeans as slaves, then people would care. But if it's, like, their own people or from neighboring regions, then, yeah, you won't hear about much on the news. So they can also enlist more soldiers. Yeah, like, this was actually the main reason. Like, enlisting more soldiers is always something that nations want. Like, a lot of people were wondering, it's like, why is Putin reaching out to the North Koreans? Well, the main reason is that when your soldiers die and they come home in coffins, it doesn't look good on the percentages, right? It doesn't look good on the newspapers, on the television, right? Number of deaths. And so nations try various ways. Like, for instance, Russia has the Wagner Group. The reason they have the Wagner Group is because if mercenaries die, well, it's not going to appear on the statistics as the numbers of soldiers that died, right? Because they're mercenaries, they're not soldiers. And so it looks better on TV. Instead of saying, like, 10,000 soldiers died, you now have, like, 2,000 soldiers died. And that's acceptable for the population. Right? But in the reality, it's like, well, 8,000 of those soldiers may have been mercenaries, and they don't count. Another way you can do it is with the North Koreans, right? Like, it's one thing for the Russian people if you tell them, like, 10,000 Russians died versus 4,000 Russians died and 2,000 Koreans. Right? Like, you fidget the numbers a little bit. It's not a lie. It just sounds better. 39, have a Weathers and some prune juice on me. Jesus, I don't drink prune juice anymore. Holy shit. A lot of people don't know what prune juice is. It's Romanian spirits. It's insanely strong. Like, incredibly strong. Americans called it fire water. I wonder if it's fire water actually. Huh? Like what did the Indians consider fire water to be? Was it like beer or any alcohol, or was it whiskey? I know when I read the Vinetu, you know, like in Romania you have to read Vinetu. It's an American Western book with the Shatterhand as the main character. Do you guys read your own literature? I'm actually curious, like if Vinetu is popular. Hold on. Now I'm genuinely curious if it's popular in America as much as it's popular here. Oh, apparently it was written in German. No fucking way. Okay, so the person who wrote this hasn't stepped foot in the Wild West or America in their entire fucking life. The more I know. See, I'm asking Americans if they read Vinetu, and then I realize that actually it's written by a German. Buchtel der klassischen Ausgeber. Der Bane, Vinetu. Okay, Karl May. Yeah, Karl May wrote it. It's really good. Well, it's actually a great Western. Probably why he portrays the Indians as being extremely noble and enlightened compared to anyone else, because, well, he has never been in the Wild West. He has not experienced the Wild West, and so he has a very romanticized version of it. Let's see. A romantic desire for a simpler life close in contact to nature. Okay, so like the writer was fantasizing living in the Wild West. Like he was a German and he wanted to live in the Wild West. Sequel has become the origin of festivals, and their first regular Karl May Spiele were staged in Rathen, Saxony, East Germany. They retested the open plays in 1984. Apparently the Russians didn't ban the book. The stories were so popular that Nazi Germany didn't ban them either. Instead, the argument was made that the stories demonstrated the fall of the American Aboriginal people, which was caused by a lack of racial consciousness, according to the Nazis. Oh my goodness, even the Nazis got it wrong. I so fucking hate this identity politics bullshit. Oh my fucking god. It's like, look, how can you look at Europe, right? And you can say, like, if you're an American, usually Americans do this. They look at Europe and they say white people, right? Like, they're eyeballing it, and they say Caucasian. And you're looking at Europe, and you notice that there's constant world wars throughout history. And even before the world wars, you have the Napoleonic battles, you have the 100-year war, you have, like, just constant fucking warfare, just nonstop. And the question is, like, well, why don't they have, like, what, racial consciousness? Well, it's because people are built around ethnicities and national history, that's why. Right? Like, if you tell a Polish person, you tell a Ukrainian that he's a Russian, he's going to throw hands. Even though they speak the same language, even though, like, ethnically, you may have, like, Ukrainian citizens that ethnically are indistinguishable from Russians, it doesn't fucking matter. They have history, they have a culture. And by the way, like, the history doesn't matter if it's true or not. It's like what's perceived to be the history is what matters, right? Like for instance, Romanians believe Transylvania is ours. Hungarians disagree. History can't say that both of us are right. Like, one is right, one is wrong. Usually the one that's right is the one that took it by force last time, right? Because Transylvania exchanged hands several times throughout history. And the last group that took it by force last time, they're in the right. The other group feels slighted, and they feel that they have grievances, and it's unjust and unfair, and the people that are being persecuted. This is like true for Europe, right? Now, we look at this, and we can understand that this is Europe. But when you look at the natives in America, for some fucking reason, you don't understand that anymore. It's like, well, they're all in this together. There's no, like, difference between the tribes. There's no history between the tribes or grievances or differences in culture. No, like, they just happen to be on the same continent. So they must all be the same and share the same interests and share the same vested ideals and the same national unity. It's like, come on. Like, no, they were on a continent. They just didn't have horses. They had their own imperial ambitions. Like, they had the Aztecs. They had different cultures, different religions, different interpretations. Like, various tribes felt slighted by different tribes. And so, like, to consider that, oh, well, they didn't have a racial identity. Well, they wouldn't even view each other as the same. Like, they're tribalistic. Like, one tribe views that they're different than the other tribe, right? Like, the Aztecs would view that they're different than everyone else. And they can even back it up militarily. I'm sorry, I went on a rant. I just don't understand this way of thinking. Subject to change. Thank you for the $20 super chat, fellas. Cumpleaños. American Outlier, holy shit. Thank you for $50. Well, Eli Whiteley invented the cotton gin, so the Industrial Revolution was going to happen and slavery was going to be obsolete, and the North didn't care about slavery. Look up New York Uprising when Lincoln sent the Union to draft soldiers. They chimped out. See, I'm so happy to be validated by someone that did study American history. Because, like, again, I'm just from Romania. I'm, like, not listening to the Hollywood and the movies and whatever else the American media is saying. And I just look at the historical text. And I'm looking at the historical text. It's like, okay, well, how did it start? What did Lincoln say? How did Lincoln come to power? What were the geopolitics of the time period? What happened? And I'm like, well, I don't think it has to do with slavery. I think it has more to do with states' rights. And then I'm forming my opinion on that. And I read on the internet and it seems that, oh, well, apparently other people agree with me. They drag the same conclusion. Fascinating. Okay. And then you have, like, a person that studied American history agreeing with me. Do you know what that does to my ego? Holy shit. Apaches and Comanches were vicious and violent, and they were due to having Aztecs as neighbors. It doesn't fucking surprise me. Like, imagine having neighbors that do human sacrifices with their captives. Like, and the human sacrifice isn't that they just kill you. They pull out your beating heart and shit. Now, to be fair, everything we know is from the Europeans, right? Like, we don't have a scribe from the Aztec Empire describing his point of view, right? His culture. So it's kind of like learning about the Russians now from the Ukrainian perspective in the war, right? Like, you're not going to learn charitable things. And so maybe that's one of the things. Like, maybe they weren't that bad. Who the fuck knows? Like, maybe they weren't that over the top. But then when the Europeans arrive and they notice the scalpings and the night raids and shit, they're like, okay, well, I guess, like, the truth is in the middle, because, like, they couldn't have been that good either. The Europeans were actually traumatized by what they saw, right? Because, like, a lot of the violence that you see between the Europeans and the natives is also due to the way they were conducting military operations, right? So, in Europe, military operations were usually conducted so often that the great nations came together and started making codes of conduct. The idea is like, okay, what is horrible? What happens? Can we lower the carnage a little bit, right? Like, can we somehow fight like gentlemen so that it's not as hell as it can be? And this is when you have, like, the imperial mindset of war, like the Napoleonic Wars. You got, like, the marching in line formation, right? So you have, like, this. Right? You have, like, this happening. And honestly, to me, like, this is worse than any type of war. Like, the idea that you're marching on drum beats and all of a sudden you stop, right? And you're aiming like an execution firing line, and you're firing your muskets, and then you reload while the other side is firing. Like that is fucking madness. There's no cover. There's nothing. You're literally in the open, right? There's no camouflage. It's just like two armies meeting each other and taking turns at firing at one another. But, like, you still have the cavalry that's trying to flank and shit. To be fair, though, if I was sent back in time during the Napoleon era, I would decimate these fucking armies to such a brutal efficiency that they would call me a butcher. Like, all you need is a trench gun. You know what a trench gun is? It's a shotgun. And apparently they had them back then, right? So all you gotta do in order to completely destroy all of the the battle doctrine and everything that they have like one guys with muskets opening fire, and usually when you fire the musket, it creates a black of smoke, like it creates some fog. And then from the second line, you have like a group of people that are charging in with trench guns, and they're just like charging in, right, like a cavalry charge. And then they just stop in front and they open fire with the trench gun in the front line. Like the level of carnage that you're going to create instantaneously. To say that it's going to be catastrophic is like not even a joke. Like take into account the Germans were thinking that the trench gun is a crime, a war crime, right? Because of the damage that it did in the trenches. So if you manage to get guys up close, and you could, because they already had like musket charges, right? Like they already had bayonet charges. So like that's already in the combat doctrine. And all you have to do is to drill the soldiers into mock attacks with trench guns. It's like, okay, line 1 fire, and then immediately line 2 charges right after like the enemy has fired their shot. By the time they reload, they're like going to lift their heads and they're going to see people with trench guns, like with shotguns in front of them, completely demolishing the first line. And then the shotgun people just hit the deck so that the people behind them can fire another volley. And if they don't rout after that, I don't know, like maybe they're robots or AI. But I guarantee to you, you do that once or twice and they will call Napoleon a butcher. Like they would think that he's a demon from hell. And then you can also improvise a little bit with barbed wire and sandbags, which were also available at the time, but no one thought about using it. Like sandbags are easy to carry and shit. You just deploy them. And you have like just indomitable defense. And that's fucking it. But like they would probably complain. They would say, oh my goodness, it's dishonorable. It's dishonorable. You didn't like, no, this is not how gentlemen fight. Where is the glory? Where is like, there is no glory. This is industrialized killing. Okay, you brought word to me. I'm solving a problem. It's like you gave me a math equation. If you're dumb enough to charge at my trench lines, you're going to experience the industrialized carnage of World War I. And then you'd see that the war stopped. Now again, the whole thing was like what was keeping this madness was the code of conduct, right? It's like, well, it's not gentlemanly, it's not glory, it's not there. And when they bring it to America, they realize that the Americans, both the natives as well as the American revolutionists, they took a piss, like a massive piss on their gentlemanly conduct. The Americans, they took a piss by shutting down their officers. Again, like Napoleon could have had sniper weapons, like the technology existed back then. And the officers have these big plumes on top of their head, as well as the artillery crew. I'm just saying, like, very easy victory if you apply modern morality. You don't even need to perfect the weapons. You don't even need to bring technology. You just use the things you have, but you have like a change in mindset. And so the Americans actually did snipe at the officers, and they found this to be horrible, ungentlemanly like. It's like, why are you firing at our officers? Well, because it's fucking effective, because now your men are routing. No one is giving them orders, they're panicking, they don't feel safe, you know, this is what you do, it's war, right? Like, why are we pretending that it's a rehearsed play? It's a fucking game. No, it should be treated like war. You want to bring it, we will end it, you know? And then the Indians, the natives, they didn't give a shit about this. Like, okay, why would they meet an overpowering army on the battlefield? They're not suicidal. No, they're going to go into the middle of the night in your settlement, kill a bunch of people, scalp them, and show them as a display of what happens if you stay there. And this again horrified the Europeans. It's like, well, it's not honorably, it's not gentlemanly. No, but is it honorably to bring an overwhelming force against an enemy? Is that honorable? Right? Like you're bringing muskets and cannon fire against people that have bows and arrows. Is that honorable? Is that no? Okay. Yeah, I see. Why did I go into this rant? Huh?
Lincoln and
who the fuck is talking?
property league.
Shut up. That's an urban legend. That shotgun gun story was a try to delay an attack via lawfare. What do you mean urban legend? What do you mean urban legend? It's a fucking tactic. They did it in World War I. It's called the shock troops, right? Like the stormtroopers. They literally did this tactic. They would use artillery barrage in order to suppress the enemy. And after the artillery stopped firing, like the artillery wouldn't fire to actually hit the guys. They would fire in order to keep them suppressed. while the trench gunners would charge in, and then they would stop right at the trench and start and like clear up entire trenches in a couple of seconds. It was brutally effective. It's not an urban legend. It's like a doctrine of war. Took them several years to master it, but once they did, it didn't turn the tide because like by then the Germany lost a lot of troops. They suffered a lot of attrition. Napoleon could have used the AWP. See, like the thing is he could, but the thing is like when you start doing that, because I was thinking about it yesterday. It's like, okay, if you start doing that, if you actually do develop a sniper rifle, which by the way they could, they had the technology. Like it's already like a musket, but you put a scope on top of it, and then you need like some trained people in order to fire it. The problem happens like when they start using sniper weapons as well, and then they just headshot Napoleon. So like what Napoleon would have to do to counteract that would be to dress like a soldier and just like blend in with everyone else. Weapons these days are far more deadly. In the past, weapons were made to destroy morale and not necessarily kill. Oh, I don't fucking know. A musket is pretty fucking gruesome. The Germans were not shocked about the shotgun. No, it's not propaganda. It's like actual letters that we still have. Like it's official communications. The trench gun was almost actually banned from World War One. I don't know where you're getting your information from, but it's wrong. Napoleon would have won if he had tier 3 donations and TikTok dances. Oh, that's definitely true. The soldiers who died in battle pre-World War I were usually quite small compared to how many died from disease and infection. I didn't know that. Ridley Scott became low IQ for over a decade now. Who is Ridley Scott? Koreans beat US Marines once with bows and arrows while wearing bulletproof vests. Dude, can you imagine if, like, during the Napoleonic War, you would actually bring, like, Vietnam terror tactics against the Germans or something like that? Like, it would mindfuck them. I mean, if they think that what the Indians did was ungentlemanly, imagine, like, digging pit holes with spikes or dipping your bullets into latrines in order to cause infections. If you have, like, sniper... people with the sniper gun and trees and shit. If you actually have mines, I mean, again, like the mine as a concept existed during the Napoleonic War. Yeah, like if you were to actually use some Viet Cong tactics against like imperial armies, holy fucking shit. The funny thing is like they didn't even have the definition of a war crime. But they would have made it. They would have just created it. Logistic rules the words. Yeah, but back then they didn't really industrial, like in the Napoleonic era, like war was all about glory and honor and tradition. It's only during World War I that war becomes industrialized. There's no glory, there's no honor. It's just like survival. And so like the enemy isn't being met on the battlefield; it's just being processed. Anyway. Spain used guerrilla war tactics in the Napoleonic War. I didn't know that. How did they view the Spanish? Probably didn't like that. Happy birthday, V. I used to be Samurai Squirrel until I was banned for the H-Sprachen from commenting. Hope you have a great year. Well, welcome back, Jackie Chan. I hope you're not going to get banned now. Holy shit, people being banned for commenting. I never thought I would see the day, but here we are. Jordi Buchner, thank you for the 11 euros. They did have snipers right about Napoleon's time. My unit, for example, originates from the Dutch Jaegers or Hunters. They were the first units to use green suits and use rifle guns. Well, why were they more effective? Were they not allowed to aim at the officers? Because I'm pretty sure if you shot the officers, then they would have kicked up a stink about it. Since they already freaked out when the Americans were doing it. Like, the American revolutionaries were using asymmetric warfare, and they were shooting, like, the English officers. And they didn't like that. They don't like that at all. It's kind of interesting because like now if you shoot an officer, like no one complains, right? Like it's war, right? So like if like in Ukraine, for instance, if the Ukrainians shoot a Russian officer, I mean they view it as a victory, right? And it's just part of battle. It's actually what you're supposed to do. But back then it was like a huge thing. Back then it's like holy shit, they shot an officer. That's dishonorable. Muskets did not have rifling, thus they couldn't hit shit from a distance. No, but I think like they were already designing a rifle specifically to shoot at the distance. Like I'm not an American, I don't know my gunsmithing, but I know like they used to have hunting weapons that would fire from afar. It's just like they didn't industrialize them. They didn't use them for warfare. Say bravo, thank you for the $10 and the happy birthday wish. By the way, like what you can do though, like if you go into the Napoleonic era, what you can do to make France into a powerhouse or any nation would be to bring the concept of assembly lines and replaceable parts. Like if you do that shit, that's a game changer. Assembly lines means that you have like 10 people. Like you don't need to have like an automated assembly line. You can just have 10 people sitting next to each other. And everyone does like a specific task. Like they don't make the whole gun from scratch. Like one person makes the magazine, one person makes the actual weapon, so on and so forth, right? And then they assemble them. And if you do that, you manage to do it at an industrial scale, to the point where no other empire can compete. Like even Britain with its empire can't outproduce you if you have assembly lines and interchangeable parts. And it's like just a common sense thing. Like it's not technological. It's just like this is the way it should be done, you know? Officers wouldn't be hit due to etiquette, but also because the rifles, although better and more accurate, they still weren't great yet. Ah, I see. But like I assume if you have like 10 people with those weapons and they're all aiming at the same place, then eventually someone hits. Like it's just a matter of time before they get hit. Because they're not using any fucking cover, right? Bipedal species, happy birthday. Before I either forget or you're a boomer, end the stream and I don't get a chance. And thank you for the donation. I went to end the stream earlier. Happy birthday, V. Also go to sleep. I just fucking woke up. Leave me alone. According to Civilization games, you need ballistic technology before rifling. I see. It used to be one guy needing to modify the parts so the parts can fit. Yeah, like basically, the way it works, I think like you need to have I don't know how you call it in English, but it's like matrica in Romania. It's like a model basically where you're just filling it with lead and it creates the part, right? The shape of the part at least. And then if you have the shape of the part down to a T, you just create parts that are identical so that if something breaks, you just remove the part that broke and you slot the new part and there you go. And so like fixing stuff on the battlefield becomes insanely easy. It becomes instant. Logistics are now a lot easier and simplified. And you're outproducing because when you have just one guy having to produce every part of the rifle, like first of all, like there's very few guys that know how to do it, right? Secondly, it's very meticulous and time-consuming to make every part that fits exactly to specification. Meanwhile, with the interchangeable parts, you don't have some like not a single person knows how to make the entire rifle. They just know how to make the part, and they make the part and they make the part. It's soul crushing, incredibly boring, but incredibly effective as well. So anyway, right? I got sidetracked into technical shit. Let's talk about something else that's less boring and less autistic. A woman's love language is not having to ask. What the fuck? Okay, let's listen to this wisdom. 81.8 million views. How the fucking fuck? Like that is nothing. You know what's depressing me, chat? Is that this woman is fucking better than me. See, I'm the type of person that admits my limitations. And I know for sure that there is nothing that I will ever say or do, nothing that I can say or do, even if I plan it, like even if I try to be as outrageous as possible, I will never get 81.8 million views. Like this is This is my life's work. I think like if you take my entire fucking channel and you add the views of every video that I've ever made, it doesn't surpass 81.8 million views. See? Like my mindset is like, no, this is a person better than me. Like this is someone that I need to study. I need to learn. An American goes, oh, but her morality, look what, I don't fucking care, right? Like again, you're not looking at the effectiveness of it all. Like she is the cog that spins the machine. She's fucking better because of the value that she is producing. It's like, what is the value? 81.8 million views. That's the fucking value, right? Numbers talk. Like, I'm sorry. Math says your morality is shit. If your morality goes against the math fucking dominates you. She makes 81.8 million views. Do you make 81.8 million? No. Do you know how to make them? No. Then shut the fuck up. Let's see what she has to say. Like, let's take wisdom from this lady.
20 years, but about 3 years ago, I was strongly considering divorce, and I want to talk to you about why. So I'm going to tell you the story of the day where I thought to myself, maybe I don't want to do this anymore.
So personal drama is what gets views? It's like your hardships in life. If you go on and you talk about your love interests and how you had the fit, is this what gets you 81.8 million views?
My husband and I had 4 kids. We both worked full time. We had been together for 16 years at this point. We've been together since high school.
Why the fuck do I care? See, like how, it's not even like how is this affecting me, but like why should this even fucking register on my radar? Like someone in the world out there had 4 kids and wanted to get a divorce. How is that like my business? Is she related to me? Is she my family? It's like, no, V, but you need to have strong morals. And okay, let's say I have strong morals, all right? Let's say I'm more moral than anyone. Like I spent 24 hours on Twitter bitching about these issues. Is it going to change the world? No. She's still going to have 4 kids. She's still going to have a divorce. Why? Because she has 80.18 million views. She has so much money, she doesn't give a single fuck about me. She's looking at me with disdain and disgust. I am nothing to her. I will never be something to her. Like she is in a financial situation where she can dominate me. She can hire a person to nag me 24/7 every single time I leave my house. Like when I leave my house, I can have an army of 10 people paid by her to go like, LOLV and your morality, you suck, you suck, you suck, you suck. You know, like literally whenever I go on the street, she can do that. And once those people get arrested, she can hire 10 more. Why? Because she's fucking rich. I'm not. She's better than me. She's superior than me in every single fucking way. And so I can never reach her. Like no matter, like the only way I can reach her is if I become richer than her, and then I look down on her, right? Because that's how the world actually works. Like this is the reality. If I was to be richer than her, right? If I was to have influence over her social media, well, then she would listen to me. Then I could tell her, it's like, look, I don't want to hear your life stories, ladies. I think you're a bad example. You had 4 kids and you are considering a divorce. I don't want to hear it. I want you to zip it. And then she would have to do it because I would dominate her. I am richer, right? But right now, I'm not. And so I can't dominate her.
And on paper, I have an amazing husband. He is incredibly supportive, he's kind, he's loyal, he's a great dad, he's very hands-on, he's an active participant, he's always present. Like, on paper, what else could I add?
Okay, I think I know why she's getting 81.8 million views. It's because men are watching and they're wondering, like, what if my woman is the same? Right? Like, it's traumatizing. It's like, what if I'm doing everything right and I already have 4 kids and my woman doesn't like me, even though like there's nothing I can do, right? I'm not abusive, I'm having a job, I'm doing everything right, I'm doing what society tells me, and despite all that, and then people are afraid that it can be them, and so they click in the comments, they're like, oh, you're a nasty little piece of work, you're a nasty woman, nasty, because they're doing it out of fear, right? Like they're afraid that it can happen to them, and so they're lashing out at random people on the internet, hopefully that if they do it enough, it won't happen to them, right? Like, this is the mentality, I understand. Like, if you complain to people on Twitter, and you complain long enough, then society will change, right? In reality, if you want society to change, you need to start creating an NGO, donating money for a cause, starting an ideological movement. You're going to get pressure from the establishment, right? Because the establishment doesn't want to relinquish power. Like, there's already other NGOs that are on her side that actually do get funding, that actually do get money, and they have people that move their ass and do volunteer work. And you're going to have to fight against them. They're already established, you're upstarting, but you got values, you got morals, you're, right? And so that's how you achieve change in society. Not by whining on Twitter about stuff that you see. It's a hard truth, you know, people don't like hearing it, but it's true. Like the people that got the situation to exist the way it is, like the people that created the laws to be the way they are, they risked stuff. And they invested money into it. And they pumped money into their ideology.
Ask for. But in reality, my experience is very similar to the experience of other women. I had this amazing husband who on paper was great, but I was incredibly frustrated and burnt out from our marriage and from motherhood. Because what happens to so many of us is that we marry these amazing men and we have amazing relationships and then we have kids. And when we have kids, women tend to carry a disproportionate amount of the work in the home, the work of raising kids, and the mental load. And that is exactly what happened to us.
Do you know, like, there's another problem that women have? We live in 2025. And you can actually support the economy by hiring a cleaning lady or a nanny. Like, most people that are middle class, especially in America, not only can afford it, but, like, you're actually helping someone else. You're creating jobs. Like, there are people that, unironically, they want to work, right? Like they want to work for a living. And so you can hire them as a nanny. You can hire them as a cleaning lady. Oh, doing jobs around the house. Doing fucking what? You can order food now. Like, we live in a society where if you're middle class, a lot of the... And looking at the way her kitchen is like, I don't think she's poor. Like, if you think she's poor, I can show you a kitchen that immediately tells you that the person is poor. No, she's got like a really nice kitchen. Looks very expensive from a European perspective, by the way. She looks middle class, right? She can afford the nanny. Why doesn't she get a nanny? Well, because women are jealous. Like, I had the same conversation with my wife. Like, she doesn't trust nannies and shit. Fair enough. You know, fair enough. Like, there was a Ukrainian refugee. Very beautiful, right? And she was taken in the house of a British couple. And the husband ends up divorcing the wife and leaves with her. And it's like a national story and shit. Right? So, like, okay, fine. Usually, they don't say that you know, they don't want the nanny in the house because of reasons. They will say, "Oh, well, I don't trust, you know, my jewelry to be in a unsafe in the same space with a stranger, right, or some shit like that." But again, this thing with the housework to me is a cope. Like, you have grandparents, don't you? Like, can't the grandparents raise the kids? Because the difference between you and the grandparents is that you have a job. You gotta work, right? You got a job, you gotta work. The grandparents don't. The grandparents have a lot of time on their hand and they usually like kids. And then there's also the thing, like, this is something that I notice. Because I have a baby too. You know, first year of its life, I can't do much. Like, when the baby starts crying, it wants the titty. That's it. It wants the titty. There's nothing that I can possibly do. Like, no milk bottle, no nothing. Like, it just... Because it doesn't want the titty because of food necessarily. It's also have like a soothing impact, right? Like the motherly love that only the mother can provide. And so no matter how much I help around the house, no matter how many chores I do, it's like, well, just the fact that you're having a child is going to be taxing. Now, in the past, the woman didn't have a job. And in Europe, they don't. Like in Europe, if you have a kid, you get maternity leave. But I can't imagine how it's like to also have to work, right? Like you're going to the office in the cubicle, and then you're coming at home where the kid is. Like, I can't imagine how that is like.
About 3 months after my fourth baby was born, I remember looking at my husband and saying, I need more. I need you to do more. I am exhausted. I am in charge of everyone and everything in this house. Every night, when we cook dinner, you ask me what to make. Every day, when you drop off the kids at daycare, you ask me what they need in their backpacks. I am the project manager of this home and I need you to do more. And he looked at me and he said, okay, just tell me what to do. Right? Every woman has heard this. Just tell me what to do and I'll do it. And I said, okay, you know, something that would make my life easier is if in the mornings when I came downstairs with the 4 kids, because I do mornings by myself, the dishwasher was emptied, the dishes were put away, and the trash was taken out. That would make my life so much easier, because when I've got the 4 kids running around and the baby crying, I can't be looking for their favorite water bottle in the dishwasher. I just need to know it's clean. And he said, yeah, of course. yeah, I'll do that. That's no problem. And so, of course, he does it. But then I have to remind him, and then he forgets, and then I have to remind him again. And there was this one morning where I woke up, and I went to put something in the trash, and it was overflowing. And I went to get my son's water bottle, and it was in the dishwasher.
See, the thing that I don't get, and this is what women don't get, like, I'm empathizing. I definitely understand the problems, right? A lot of people that don't have kids don't understand the problems. Like, looking after 4 kids, probably hell on earth, right? The main reason that's difficult is that when the baby is crying, its cries are evolutionary designed to cause distress. Like, it stresses you the fuck out. Like, and it's done by purpose so that evolutionary, like, you immediately take notice and you go and you have to soothe the baby. Like you need to make sure that he stops crying. And babies cry all the time. You know, and they cry, sometimes they cry for good reasons, like they're hungry or they need a diaper change. Other times, they only cry because they're spoiled or you're not giving them attention. Right? Like you're and they don't understand, like 5 seconds you're turned around, you know, preparing their milk formula or whatever, and they immediately start crying because you're not giving them attention. And like constantly hearing crying like stresses you the hell out. Like it's insanely stressful. I don't know how my wife manages. But I can understand why you would be driven to the brink of insanity. However, like divorcing your husband, how does that fix things? Like, you divorce your husband, you get a new guy in, he's going to be the same. But on top of that, he may actually end up being a wife beater, a domestic abuser, he may abuse your kids. Like, you already know your husband doesn't do that. So you're seeking perfection, right? Like you're trying to find, like, okay, the perfect husband. Like, he is loving, he is caring. Even though he takes out the trash and even though he does your dishes and whatnot, you want even more. You want someone that does even the dishes, even that, Why do you think you're going to find him? Why do you think that such a person even exists in the real world? Why do you think that if such a person exists, they will be interested in you, who already has 4 kids? Why would that person that is like, you just described probably the best man in the world. Well, like if you have a husband that is always, that is kind, compassionate, you get along with him, he's attractive, he loves you, takes out the trash, takes out the dishwasher, does all of these things without you having to tell him, there is no woman on planet Earth that wouldn't want that. Like, the competition to get that is skyrocketing. So what do you have on the table? Well, you have 4 kids with another man. Why would he consider being with you if you have 4 kids with another man, when he can be with another woman that has no kids and they can experience the wonders of childbearing together? This is another thing that women don't understand. It's like, oh, why do men want a woman that doesn't have kids? Well, it's because just like the first time you had the kid was magical to you, so is it for the husband. Like, what's wrong with the husband wanting the magical moment for himself as well? Why are you selfish? Why are you trying to deprive him of that? And then it's also the question, it's like, okay, how many women are willing to go with men that have kids? Because that's like something that they don't do either, you know? Like, women don't want to date a man that has a kid. Very rarely does it happen, and usually it happens when the woman has a kid as well. But like, the very notion that, okay, you're dating this man, he's got kids, so that means there's another woman in his life. That means that that woman is going to want to see his kids consistently, because it's hers as well, right? Like, that kid is never going to be yours. It's his and hers. That kid is a constant reminder that there's another woman in his life. And they can always hook back up, right? Like, they can always, something happens, the spark gets reignited. Why would you want to put yourself in that position? Why do you want to put yourself in a position where the kid looks at you and says, like, you're not my mom? Because you know it's going to end up with that. Like why? American Outlier. Thank you for the $20. Remember that my grandpa fought the Italians in North Africa before going to clean up in Normandy breaches after D-Day. He saw war due to the Battle of the Kesari Pass. Look it up. Which was the combat meaning, run, shoot, dodge. I should actually look it up. I don't know individual battles in World War II. But it sounds interesting. I bet if I ask Archie, probably will know the answer to it. Spence, thank you for the $27.99, and thank you for the happy birthday. Bree, my ex-wife, complained about nonstop how much of a burden our 3 kids are. They are adults, and none of them speak to her now. Kids listen to what you say. I don't know. See, I actually spoke with a lot of people regarding having kids and how it is when they grow up. And what I understand is that having a kid is like playing a gacha. You know, you're playing a gacha game and you're pulling the lever and you're hoping that your kid is an epic or a legendary pool. You're hoping that he's an SSR, you know. But most of the time, you just get like basic bitches. You know, you get basic bitches that are ungrateful. They don't care about you when you're old, so on and so forth. Now, being a good parent may actually influence that to a certain degree, you know. But in the end, if you're going to have an ungrateful brat, you're going to have an ungrateful brat. It's just the way things are, you know. Like, this is why in the past people had like 7 or 8 kids to at least make sure that 1 or 2 would remember dad when he is old, you know. Like, if you have many kids, you have more gacha pulls. And the more pulls, the more likely you have a legendary, right? It's not excuses, it's reality. The faster you accept it, see, like, there are certain things in life, the faster you accept them, the better it is for you. Like, you get in a different mindset. It's like, yeah, I expect my kid will be ungrateful. And when they're ungrateful, you're not surprised. It's like he's fulfilling your expectations. Meanwhile, it's like, no, I'm an amazing parent. I'm the best dad in the world. Like, surely he won't be ungrateful. And when he is ungrateful, you're like, oh my goodness gracious, why didn't I listen to V? I could have been mentally prepared for this, but instead I chose idealism over pragmatism. I loved my ideology. It sounded so good on paper. It placed me in a future of milk and honey. It didn't place me in a future where bad things could happen. No, I thought that good things happened. It's like, okay, right. You know, it is what it is. Sure, believe what you want. Like, you do you. I'll do me. I already have a very cynical Eastern European vision of how the world is like. My grandma took care of 5 kids alone. Yeah, but like, your grandma didn't have a job, you know? I do agree. I even said in this video that grandparents should play an active role in raising the kids. And we, as well, when we grow old, we too should play an active role. We need more gacha pulls. It's true, right? Like, if you have 6 or 7 kids, then the chances that one of them is going to be a decent human being when it comes to you, it's a lot higher, right? Like, you get a 70% increased chance of having a kid that's decent. If you have only one pool, well, you put all your eggs in one basket and there you fucking go. Now we take fewer pools with 30 plus lower drop rates. Yeah. Most normal people care about their parents, though. But like, yeah, it's not about caring, right? Let me tell you the problem that a lot of elderly people in Romania have. Let's say you have a kid, and he actually cares about you, sure, but like, he travels outside of the state. Like, if you're in America, right? Let's say you're in California, and you have a kid, and he moves to Texas, halfway across the country, right? Well, he may be a good kid. He may care about you, but you're still going to be lonely. You're still not going to have him on various occasions. You can't go see him. He's in another state. Now you as a parent understand why he made that decision. You know, like, maybe he went there for work. Maybe he went there to start a family. Like, it is what it is. But like, that's one example. And in Romania, same thing. Like, you can have Romanian kids. They go and they work in Spain or Germany. And so the parents get depressed. They don't get to see their kids. Like, do they do it out of malice? Do they do it because they hate their parents? No, they do it because, like, it's their future. It's like they're looking at it as the only opportunity they have in order to have a life for themselves. So they do have to cross state lines, yeah. Comparing having a kid to a gacha pool is probably the most pragmatic and truthful thing I ever heard. See, this is what pisses me off. Like, I drop truth bombs left and right. I tell people how the world is. And they don't like it because they prefer ideology. Why they prefer ideology? Well, because ideology makes them feel good, right? It's like, well, and it feels right. Like if you treat your kid good, then surely your kid is going to treat you good as well, right? Like on paper, it sounds right, but then when you live life and you see parents that have been nice to their kids and their kids have been utter dicks to their parents, you start to realize that, okay, well, maybe ideology is right on paper, but in reality, it's a gacha pool. Maybe in reality, if you're meant to have a retarded kid, you get a retarded kid no matter what. You know, like for instance, and the reason that this changed my view is the communist girl that I talked about on another stream, right? So like she's got a dad, American patriot, offers her a place at his company to work, gives her a car, gives her a house, is a nice dad. Like from all accounts and purposes, it's good parenting, right? And then she gets involved at university with a group of communists that promote third wave feminism to her, brainwashes her, and now she's burning the American flag, and the dad is like, why are you doing this? Like, I fought for the country, you know? I believe in free speech. I'm not going to tell you not to burn the flag, but I want to know why. And she blocks him on social media, says no platform for fascists. And so you gotta wonder, like, what the fuck did that dad do, you know? Like, what did he do to deserve it? And the answer is, well, he pulled a gacha. And he didn't get a good kid, you know? He got a normal instead of getting an epic or a legendary. He got a fucking normal, and it is what it is, you know? Like, should have had more kids. Should have pulled the gacha more. Well, you know, like he sent her to university. Well, that's one thing, okay? Like you send her to university, that's bad. You don't send her to university, other people will say it's also bad. Like, university is not a place that at the time, because this was in 2016, no one at the time thought that, oh, sending her to university is going to be bad. Oh my goodness, where can you find my video? I don't fucking know, man. Like, this was 2016, you know? Like, I just remembered the article in my head, but I'm uploading like 4 or 5 videos a day, so even I wouldn't be able to find it. I don't remember the title of it. Like, probably if I search a lot for it, I could find it. Maybe I'll try using Grok. Like, Grok has a deep search function that goes through the internet, and I can try and see if there's any article that pops up. Thank you for the happy birthday, David. It's not my fault my kid does not love me. It has to be because insert current thing here, ban it. Yeah, pretty much. Like, if we ban more things, then your kids will love you. That's also another hot take. Bad parenting has consequences. No, like, see, here's the thing. Having a good kid is like playing the gacha. But if you have bad parenting, then you are destined to have a bad kid. Right? So, like, bad parenting always leads to bad kids. Good parenting is playing the gacha. Like, just so we're clear on this, right? Like, good parenting means that there is a chance you can have a good kid. Bad parenting is a guarantee you're going to have a bad kid. So maybe because I didn't pointed it like that, you know, maybe because I didn't frame it like that since the beginning, a lot of people misunderstood what I'm saying. And that this is a cope to be a bad parent. No. Like that. Listen, you gotta be a good parent to have the opportunity, the chance of having a good kid. Because if you don't, you're guaranteed to have a bad kid. Like, child gacha level, Asian parent. My dad says you get the kid you deserve as a parent. He teases me all the time about it. Now you know how I felt raising you due to my first being so much like me. Yeah, well, it is what it is. You know, again, I seen good parents have bad kids. To be fair, I also seen bad parents have good kids. Like, I seen parents that were really nasty, end up old and decrepit, and their kids still took care of them. So, theoretically, it is possible, hypothetically, to be a bad parent and have a kid that gives a shit about you. First will typically be a lot like dad, and the second a lot like mom. And that's interesting. Parrot gacha pool, Eastern Europe. Anyway, right, I need to go make the videos for my other channels. So hopefully you internalize this Eastern European wisdom and pull the gacha a lot more. And I'll see you guys in the comment section. Take care.